And they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see the troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name. Everybody has hopes and dreams no matter where I'm from. Look at the world through another's eyes, the bigger it becomes. 'Cause every person needs a chance. And yes, we wanna go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see the troubles are all the same. You wanna be where you can be free from fear and shame. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
Well, welcome to Sunday Assembly and welcome to this beautiful day. I've been pretty excited about that. So what I want us to do is to share with two people who you do not know the best thing that you've enjoyed about this change in weather. And I'll tell you, mine is I got to wear my spring jacket and got rid of the winter coat.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. I want to blow the winter coat out. So I want you guys to get up, again, introduce yourself to two people you don't know, and just tell them what have you enjoyed the most about having some spring weather.
Hi. Angela? Eric?
I know this sounds kind of weird, but I like to
So thanks, huh?
try to speed up the numbers.
Yeah, you have to start at
Hi, I'm Jennifer. Nice to meet you.
What did we just talk about? That's what my favorite.
Nice to meet you. Oh yeah, right? Because you can actually walk outside. Yeah. So my two things are, it's my general mood. If I was saying like 5 minutes into good mood, it's like you walk outside and it feels like spring. Yeah, and just the pleasant surprise of opening my front door. And I'm used to seeing all the snow and it's south facing, so it was like within a day it was mostly gone. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Nice to meet Yeah, right? This is the table, right? The right table.
I hate to interrupt this awesome conversation. I promise we'll have some time for a little bit later. So first, the band.
All right. relax, done with that scam. It was worth it just to learn some sleight of hand. Bad news comes, don't you worry, even when it lands. Good news will work its way to all the plans. We both got fired on exactly the same day. Well, Bill followed on, good news is on the way.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Hertz, and I am your host today. So we'll help walk you through our adventures here. And just a quick little piece about what is Sunday Assembly for those who might still have a question. It was actually started by two comedians in London. Decided that those of all beliefs and no beliefs should maybe have some of that cool community stuff that other people get. And so our goal is to build that community, and we do that through these meetings. We have small group meetings, social events, events helping off, and we'll talk more a little bit about those. So this is one piece of it's a piece of our pie, and I have to say it's a pretty awesome thing that I really enjoyed. So we're going to start with a reading from Deb Olander.
So some fishy readings. This first one is specifically for Nancy. It's an excerpt from a very famous fish book. One fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish, black fish, blue fish, old fish, new fish. This one has a little star. This one has a little car. Say, what a lot of fish there are. Just for you. All right. Since we're talking about aquaria today, got me thinking about other kinds of ponds and things, and I found this little poem called Miss Molly and the Little Fishes. Oh, sweet Miss Molly, you're so fond of fishes in a little pond, and perhaps they're glad to see you stare, with such bright eyes upon them there. And when your fingers and your thumbs drop slowly in little small white crumbs, I hope they're happy. Only this, when you've looked long enough, sweetness, then most beneficent young giver, restore them to their native river. As a parent of a child who likes to bring home things from the lakes, we had, leopard frogs and minnows recently, so yeah, definitely like to see them restored. This one's for the adults in the crowd. It's called the Fish Bar. When I walked into a fish bar, I fancied fish and fries. But when I got inside the bar, I couldn't believe my eyes. The bar was full of many fish. I didn't know what to think. Some were going to the bar to get another drink. In the corner at a table sat a pair of minke whales. Before them, silver buckets, both drinking large pale ales. Another fish came to the bar, a very large brown trout. He slammed his tankard on the top and said, "Another stout." The prawns sat sipping cocktails, whilst the haddock had a smoke. Turbots had enough to drink, so he finished off with Coke. A mackerel had a lager. A squid just swam in beer. Eel swallowed all his olives and made him feel quite queer. All the cod and whiting with place sat drinking pins, till a pilcher said, "It's Friday!" So they all started singing hymns. An octopus was barman, with a hand on every pump. He gave a shrimp tequila with a worm that made him jump. The salmon all drank shandy from a bowl, each had a straw, beside a drunken manta ray now laid out on the floor. When I stepped up to the counter, I dared not order supper, so I sat between two monkfish and had a nice hot cuppa. Now this one is more for the younger at heart in the crowd. Does a fish pee? Does a fish go pee when it's swimming in the sea? Does it ever get a notion when it's swimming in the ocean? Does a fish take a leak when it's swimming in a creek? Do they do it in a muddle when you see them in a puddle? Does a fish ever miss when it's taking a piss and find urination in the farmer's irrigation? Do you think they're rather fond of going potty in the pond? And then, for goodness sake, do they go while in the lake? Do they tinkle at all while in the waterfall? Could you see a yellow gleam as they do it in the stream? Now take a little quiz. Does a fish ever whiz? Thank you.
That was delightful. Next is going to be our guest speaker, who is going to speak to us about her adventures on creating a fish tank. Sabrina is an office manager at Core Financial Management and is a member of the Free Thought Toastmasters in the Twin Cities. She's happily married with 2 young sons, and Ricky, her son, told me that she was kind, and Brandon, her other son, told her that she does things for her and that they really appreciated that. She's also married, and her husband says she's beautiful. He actually said something else, but we just restated that. As a new resident of Minnesota, Sabrina enjoys exploring all the Twin Cities has to offer. She is also a huge reader and enjoys taking care of her cat and her fish, and I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say.
Hi everyone. So I like animals a lot. I like cats and dogs and hamsters, and we pet frogs and I like snakes. The only animal I've never understood why anyone would keep are fish. Because you can't play with them, you can't interact with them. It always looks like they're a lot of work, and I just didn't get it, why anyone would put something that just swims in a circle and go to the effort of keeping it alive. What for? So I was then very excited when my sister-in-law took my oldest son, Brendan, shopping, and they came home from Walmart with a couple fish in a little plastic container. So, if you've ever had someone bring you pets, it's always wonderful. So then we had 2 betta fish, and one of them died right away, and that was sad. And the other one we kept alive for about 1.5 years. And every week or 2, we would go to the kitchen, and my son and I would spend an hour cleaning out this fish tank. And it was always this hassle, and as time went on, the tank started to grow this weird black stuff. So then we'd scrub the gravel, or we'd boil it to try to fix it, and that was what we did. And eventually, about 1.5 years later, the betta died. I think we did a reasonably good job of taking care of it, but it never was very much fun. So after it died, I was like, I still don't get it. Now I've had a fish, they're not fun. That's the way it is. So I was curious though, I was like, obviously I'm missing something, people do this. So I just started reading about what it was that people did, the people that did it the right way. Because I knew we were kind of, I'm probably not supposed to curse. We were kind of halfway doing it. We weren't doing it. So I decided that I would, just see what it was like. And the more I read about it, the more interested I got. And so I thought, maybe I'll do this the right way and see if I can figure it out, what these people really do. And so I started making a little Amazon wish list and putting things in it, and eventually I ended up setting up a tank. And it took me several months to do it right, and it's been really fun. So that's what I want to tell you about. It is nothing like having a normal pet. The 3 things that make it really interesting are there's a lot of chemistry, and I was terrible at chemistry, so I'm not going to get really complicated, but there's interesting chemistry. And then there's a lot of art that goes into it, and I'm not very artistic either, but it is fun to design something. And then there's kind of an element of playing God, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in a minute. But it is a kind of a more powerful thing going on than the feeling you get like playing with your cat. So the chemistry part is actually one of the most overlooked parts, and that's why many fish are unhealthy and they live low lives and die early. And the deal is, in order for a tank to be successful, there has to be a lot of certain kinds of bacteria. And fish do actually pee, and in addition to peeing, they excrete ammonia through their gills. Anything that you leave in the water will start to decompose, and when it decomposes, it turns to ammonia. If you have a tank of water long enough with ammonia in it, bacteria will come that eat the ammonia. Ammonia is very bad for fish. It burns their gills and will eventually burn them to death, which is a bad way to go, I'm sure. So if you have bacteria and they eat the ammonia, they, as a byproduct, will put out nitrite. Nitrite is also toxic to fish. It interferes with their ability to absorb oxygen, so it will suffocate them if there's enough of that in there, so that's also a bad way to go. if you leave it long enough and your fish aren't dead yet, another kind of bacteria will come. They'll eat the nitrite and turn it into nitrate, which is mostly harmless to fish. It's actually a nutrient for plants if you have plants in the water. So that whole setup is called the nitrogen cycle. And that bacteria is very, very important to keeping fish happy. And most fish cannot stay alive while that's happening. It'll kill most of them. So most experienced fish keepers will cycle their tank, that's what it's called, without fish in it. And there's a few different ways you can do that. So that's the chemistry part. You get to buy a little chemistry set and play with chemicals and read little color charts and see how it's going, and that's fun. And then the artistic element is fun too. You can really create anything you want. My tank is not very artistic, I'm really not. I put a lot of plants in there, and I'll tell you why. But if you want to create like a World War II battle scene with little plastic dead soldiers, you can do that. If you want to have Bikini Bottom and all SpongeBob's friends, you can do that too. There's no limit to what you can do. So the act of creating a landscape, there's actually competitions people do where they try to create the most beautiful underwater landscape, but it is limitless. It's just your imagination. You can make anything. What I mean by playing God is there are thousands of creatures you can put in an aquarium. And the rules for water on what fish will and will not eat are kind of brutal, but they're simple. So for a fish, if it can catch it and put it in its mouth, it will eat it. So when you're creating an aquarium, you basically have to pick creatures that either one creature cannot catch it, or it can catch it but can't fit it in its mouth, and so it won't eat it. So that's the deal. So there's kind of some art, and of course people have done this before, and you can go by what's worked for them and what hasn't worked, but you can put anything together, and you can always just see what happens. So in my tank, I have what's called a wall-stood tank, and I did that because I'm lazy. A wall-stood tank has dirt on the bottom, and then I put gravel over it. And the reason I do that is because it's actually organic Miracle-Gro. My plants like dirt, and so the happier they are, the less work I actually have to do. And the more plants I have in my aquarium, the more they actually need water, and so I need very little filtration. And I never ever have to scrub it out. I never have to move the animals and drain it. I never have to do anything complicated like that. And that's one of the features of what is called a wall-stood tank, that once you set it up and if it's full of plants, that most of the work for you, which is actually pretty awesome. I'm not a photographer, so I don't have pictures of what actually lives in my tank, most of it. I have, there are a lot of snails, and they kind of just come with the plants, so they're not intentional inhabitants. But I also have some neon tetras, and they're the little pretty blue fish. You can kind of see their specks in there. And then I have some shrimp, and I have a frog, an African dwarf frog that lives in there. And I have a betta fish, Bob, and a couple of little bitty sucker fish. They're a kind of catfish, and they keep the algae out. So everybody kind of hangs out, and they all live together, and it's fun to watch. They have like their own little drama going. And anytime I like go down and sit down and watch, you can see like, you know, maybe the fish are schooling, but there's two fish that for some reason don't get along with the other fish, and maybe they're having some sort of altercation. Or the frog he's kind of a jerk, he's mean to people, and so he's being a jerk to someone, or there just always seems to be something going on. And or the shrimp are the fastest thing in the tank, so frequently something will try to eat them, and then the shrimp just like, boom, and you're like, wow, it really moves. So that's what it's like to actually do it the right way, and it is fun. There's a lot of intent and thought and planning that goes into it, so it is much different than bringing home a puppy. But I have really enjoyed it, and that's what it's like to have a fish tank, and that is why people do it.
And my fish watch me back.
Thank you so much. That was really awesome, Sabrina. Thank you. So our songs today are kind of along the lines of being curious and looking for things that aren't necessarily right there on the surface, kind of looking underneath for that sense of wonder in small things. And having no expectations about what you do or what you're looking for. So our next song, you probably know it, it's an oldie, Louis Armstrong. Taking a little bit of a different twist on it this week. So, let's try it out. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days, warm sacred nights, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? Merrily saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I'm titling this Jumping In Head First. I tend to jump into things feet first or head first and try to hit the ground running. Mythbusters has proven that this is not a good strategy. It has gotten me to some good situations and some bad situations. For example, when I was graduating high school and choosing a college, I found myself jumping in feet first into a college whose ideology was very different from my own. While in the long run, I took it as a learning curve, it still has repercussions to this day. But on the flip side, I've had some great things happen due to me jumping in feet first. Helping with Sunday Assembly and joining Toastmasters are two of my favorites, at least for the moment. Joining Toastmasters has had an unintentional consequence. It forces me to research. It helps me remember the hows and whys of researching a project. It can be so important. Even something as simple as a fish tank can become not only more interesting and in-depth, but by researching, Sabrina was able to find a way to make a tank pretty much self-sustaining, which, as a fellow lazy person, sounds awesome. I still do tend to jump into things feet first, but now I try to jump into the researching of decision before making the decision.
And now we're just going to take a few moments just to have some quiet reflection. So just kind of take a moment and be at peace. Now we're going to do a little get to know your neighbor game. And you will find on your table some incredibly artistically cut out fish. Just joking about that. Oops, we are having issues with walls today, I see. Anyway, we are going to create a Sunday Assembly fish tank. So what I want you to do is at your tables, everybody grab a fish and decorate it and make it something that you would want to share with your table mates. So maybe something that's important to you, something that you love, and then share with your table. And then we will tape all our fish up onto our virtual fish tank. So go ahead and take some time to get to chat.
Are we supposed to like?
We're creative. You can try words on
Thank you. Does that work? Proper plates.
Well, the babies, I mean, because babies like staring at anything you want to contrast.
Right. Doesn't have to be good.
That's right, just have fun with it.
Oh, good. That's what I thought Sunday Assembly for. I'm just trying to how beautiful judgmental is.
Oh, is he your actual target?
Inside of the fish.
When are you gonna make up?
I'm trying to practice.
No, but I do see people who have words and they have it made into yarn.
Well, we're struggling with. Trogdor is and he's got one muscular.
I'm just doing the anatomy of the fish. Yeah, no, that's true. That's great.
It's kind of dark when you actually use it.
I didn't want to.
I'm gonna.
love it.
No, but I don't want one because I know they're really messy. I used to work at a predatory fish department, so. That's what I have no idea about the and with it. Just keep making That's what I do. People know that once we go traveling, just me back to church.
One of the most wicked players at Sports Coast Community.
I have a friend who's last met it too. You guys should probably
My friend's mom was disturbing. It really depends on who lives quietly.
I very much she was disturbingly good at it.
Wicked. Wicked. Fantastic. I think that's like
The basic concept that I was asking is trying to make people think like what's funny. Like, so they'll be like, now it's hard. And so the classic game, I looked that up.
I know it's rude. I don't know exactly why it's
something like piano, and then you need to play words like loud. Anyone else? Musical. It's a mountain fish. Cardigan's Mandy version. Mountain lazy. Needless drink. And the birds are all like, usually it's terrible.
One alternate each day, one day early, the next day. Try to get one. It took two of us just to pull it.
It's very traumatizing. Several months for both of us. I read Belly Days, which is a native, one of the first native fish I learned when I went. I'm from Florida originally.
Like tape to put up their fish.
I don't, but I am a naturalist. I work in environmental ed, so such a different place.
I'm just being nosy and checking out the ice cream. I love our ice cream. I like that.
They did. Oh, so I can't snoop. It says thanks to March.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's still
One of our, my
That's
programs
mostly what I do.
still
Also been on
Oh, wow. I have that phone.
I've never gotten
my
past
mom still has everything. And she's like, I've had it for years, but she left it on there.
Well, thank you very much, and I love our fish tank. I think that's pretty cool. I did talk to somebody else who had a catfish. I had one because I really want another cat, so that was my thing. And now I'm just going to wrap up. I have learned some really cool things and have gotten some really neat things to think about. And one was taking that time to really think things through. Because I, like Hertzie, occasionally will jump in and then check out later if the water was cold or warm, and with some good results and some interesting results. So I like that, really appreciating that, taking the time to really do the research and do it right. And I think the doing it right is really a key thing too. And enjoying that journey. I know I just talked to somebody about their fish was a meanderer, and just how sometimes that's a fun way to do it too, is to sort of meander and kind of see where you wind up. But also knowing sometimes it's really good to take that time to do the research. And so we appreciate that. Oh. And then before our last song, we have, of course, announcements. I always think of the Boy Scout song. There's some song about how announcements are a dreadful way to die, so I would try to keep it short. It's really kind of fun about the windbag going on. So I mentioned before, part of our community is also our groups outside of this. And so we do have some really cool things coming up. Wine with Ted is at Aaron and Matt's house. And they watch TED Talks, have some wine, have some beer, and have some awesome, awesome conversation. So I highly recommend that. The 14th, we are having a volunteer and get lucky event, and we need more people. We will be helping out with a marathon, so please check that out. An awesome experience. And then we're also doing an advanced care planning meeting, and part of that is because for some of us, we may have family who have views other than us about end-of-life care issues, and so how to make sure that we get that done and done right. But that's a good, thoughtful, planned-out thing. I do know there's another photography event coming up, and I do not have the date, but please check on our meetup page, our website, Facebook, and find out all those things. Oh, yes, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I just wanted to add a couple quick things. The Get Lucky Marathon, it's a volunteering event, and we'll probably be helping serve water or something like that. To
Water and
runners.
Powerade
So
to the runners
it's
at
really-
about mile 10.
It's really,
So they'll want it.
we did Erin set that up, and I might be a little biased, but I was not looking forward to her dragging me to this thing last time. And it turned out to be tons of fun, and the runners are very, very thankful. And bonus, if we get 20 people to volunteer as a group for Sunday Assembly, that the organization Team Ortho will donate $500 to Sunday Assembly if we do that. So it's a really great way to raise funding for Sunday Assembly and do more cool things with this organization too. So just wanted to add that in.
Awesome.
So hope to see you there. Talk to Erin.
Yes, and money, talking about money, and I heard my husband last time mention that our pigs are kind of handicapped. I think we're going to send them to the hospital this month. But our piggies are hungry. Nobody who does anything for Sunday Assembly gets paid ever, which is good. But things do cost money. And so we do ask the people, give what you can, give what you think makes sense. We're certainly not tithing or anything like that, but just you could share a little bit of your resources, that would be great. And one more resource, and then I promise to be done, is we are looking for, always, readers. One thing I know, Hertzie, if you are interested in doing that, please check with Hertzie. I do have one for March, May, one thing I know, so I'm excited. But we need those. We need people who are willing to bring treats. Please let me know if you're willing to bring treats. We'd love that. If you would like to be on the A team, Erin, please check with her. It's an awesome experience to get to be kind of the leadership. And if you're interested in helping out with the band, please meet with David and talk to him, and please share your musical talents. So we have lots of opportunities for people to come and share. And I thank you very much and hope you have an awesome rest of the day. Oh, do stay for treats. Sorry.
Yeah, we have one more song to do for you today. You probably know it. It's from The Sound of Music. But it's in a way that you have never heard before. So I'm excited to do. Yes, it is a high bar. But just to reiterate what Nancy just said, we are looking for more people to join the band and to share your talents with us. Especially if you play like a melody instrument, like violin or clarinet or something else like that. It will be a really great asset to our community. Yes, and thank these wonderful people for playing with us today. All right, so we've been hearing about favorite things today, so now we're going to sing about the favorite things.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. Hummingbird feeders and birthday surprises, chocolate and board games and watching sunrises, summer vacation